The night sky burned with streaks of red as the ship tore through the alien atmosphere. Commander Ryan Hale gripped the controls, his knuckles white. The alarm screamed, and the ground rushed up like a dark sea ready to swallow him whole. Then, impact. Everything went black for a moment. When Ryan opened his eyes, the world around him was silent except for the soft hiss of cooling metal. His ship lay broken, half buried in the soil of a world he didn't recognize. The sky was a strange violet color, 2 moons watching from above like cold eyes. He was alone, miles from any known colony, with only a flickering distress beacon. The first night was cold. His oxygen filters worked, but food was limited. He had to signal for help or he would die here. So he gathered pieces of the wreck, tore open a power cell, and built a crude signal fire. The flames rose high, orange against the purple sky, a small light of hope in a dead world. But as the fire grew, the jungle around him stirred. The air seemed to hum, leaves trembled, and shadows moved where nothing should move. Ryan froze. He felt eyes watching from beyond the light. He called out, his voice echoing through the trees. "I'm not here to fight, I need help." No answer came. Only the faint sound of rustling, swift. Coordinated, deliberate, something was circling him. He grabbed his sidearm, pointing it toward the dark, his heart pounding. Then a sudden flash. Silver eyes reflected the firelight for a split second before vanishing again. He realized it wasn't just one pair, there were many, moving silently between the trees. He could feel the weight of their gaze, predators sizing up their prey. The signal fire meant to save him had called something else. Something intelligent but not human. A deep, melodic sound drifted through the air, half chant, half growl, and Ryan understood too late that he wasn't alone on this planet. He had summoned the Huntresses, and they were already closing in. The firelight danced on Ryan's face, flickering across broken metal and alien trees. He stood frozen, every muscle tight, the strange forest whispering around him. From the shadows, soft footsteps echoed, light but powerful. He aimed his blaster toward the sound, his finger trembling. Then they stepped into view, 3 tall figures, their bodies wrapped in dark hides that shimmered in the flames' glow. Their skin had a faint silver tone, and their eyes glowed faintly blue. They were not human. Each carried a long spear-like weapon, crafted from bone and metal, etched with strange patterns that pulsed with light. Ryan's breath caught. These were no simple hunters. Their movements were too precise, too confident. They spoke to each other in low tones, a language that sounded like music and thunder at once. One of them, taller than the rest with markings across her face, stepped forward. Ryan lowered his weapon slightly, raising a hand. "I'm not your enemy," he said slowly. The tall huntress tilted her head, studying him like a scientist studying a strange new animal. Then she tapped the end of her spear to the ground. And the fire dimmed suddenly. The air seemed to thicken, as if the planet itself was listening. Ryan felt a pulse in his chest, like his heartbeat was syncing with something unseen. The huntress spoke again, and this time, he felt the words more than heard them. "You called us," her voice echoed in his mind, deep and calm. "We watched the fire, the flame that breaks the silence." Ryan took a step back. Confused, "I was signaling for help," he said. The huntress's eyes narrowed. "Help brings hunger," she replied. And before he could move, another huntress appeared behind him, silent as the wind. Spear aimed at his neck. Ryan froze. He could feel the heat of her breath, hear the faint hum of energy within her weapon. His mind raced. If they were hunters, he was their prey. But why hadn't they killed him yet? They were studying him, testing him, waiting. Suddenly, the tall huntress raised her hand. The others stepped back, lowering their weapons. She looked at Ryan again, her voice calm but commanding. "You burned the forest," she said. "Now you owe the flame." Ryan's pulse pounded in his ears. He didn't understand, but one thing was clear. The Huntresses had found him. And now, his fight for survival had only just begun. The Huntresses surrounded Ryan, their glowing eyes fixed on him. The fire that once gave him warmth now burned low, casting long shadows across the alien ground. The leader, the tall one with the face markings, stepped closer. Her name, he learned from the whispers of the others, was Sirana. She circled him slowly, the tip of her spear tracing small sparks in the air. "You came from the sky," she said, her voice echoing softly inside his head. "You called the flame." "The old sign of challenge," Ryan frowned. "I didn't challenge anyone. I was only trying to survive." Sirana's eyes glowed brighter. Survival is the only true challenge, she replied. The other huntresses murmured, their voices like wind through crystal leaves. Sirana pointed to the dark forest behind them. You must walk into the ash veil, she said. If the forest accepts you, you live. If not, your fire dies. Ryan didn't understand their laws, but he saw no choice. They were giving him a chance or maybe testing him. Either way, he would not die begging. He took his emergency torch, his last working tool, and nodded. All right, he said. Show me the way. The huntresses exchanged glances, surprised by his courage. Then Sirana gestured, and they moved through the forest like shadows, silent and graceful. The deeper they went, the stranger the world became. The trees were made of glass-like bark, glowing faintly from within. Strange creatures crawled across the surface, their bodies translucent, their eyes reflecting starlight. Ryan felt small, human, fragile, but his soldier's heart pushed him forward. After what felt like hours, they reached a clearing. A pit of black stone lay at its center, filled with dim embers. This is the veil, Sirana said. Feed it with your fire or it will feed on you. Ryan knelt, studying the pit. He tore a wire from his suit, connected it to his torch, and sparked it alive. A small flame flickered, weak but steady. The huntresses watched silently. Ryan could feel the heat against his face. But then the flame shifted color, turning blue, then green. The ground trembled and something deep below began to move. A shape rose from the pit, a creature made of molten stone and smoke. Its voice rumbled like thunder. Human flame burns bright, it said, but does it endure? Ryan's mind screamed to run, but his body stayed firm. He lifted his torch and stepped closer. I didn't come here to fight, he said. I came to live. The creature paused, then lowered its glowing head. The fire around them calmed. Sirana's eyes widened in shock. No outsider had ever survived the veil's test. She whispered almost to herself. The flame accepts him. Ryan fell to his knees, exhausted, but inside him something had changed. The huntresses didn't see him as prey anymore. They saw him as something else, something dangerous. A human who had earned the fire. The night after the trial of fire was silent. The jungle slept under the twin moons, and only the soft hiss of the dying embers filled the air. Ryan sat near the pit, his body bruised, his mind still racing. He had survived the impossible, but he didn't know what that truly meant. The huntresses stood at the edge of the clearing, watching him. Their usual coldness had changed, replaced with something that looked like respect or maybe curiosity. Sirana stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the fire's light. You faced the flame, and it did not consume you, she said. Now the law binds us. Ryan looked up, tired and confused. Binds us? He asked. Sirana nodded slowly. You carry the mark of the veil, and by the code of my tribe, I am sworn to protect the bearer of the living flame. She drew a blade from her waist, slicing a small mark across her palm, letting silver blood drip onto the embers. The huntress's oath, she whispered. The fire hissed and turned blue. Ryan stared, unsure whether to feel honored or afraid. I didn't ask for protection, he said quietly. Sirana tilted her head. No one asks the flame for mercy, yet it burns for them anyway. The other huntresses bowed slightly before fading into the trees, leaving Sirana and Ryan alone beneath the twin moons. For the first time he noticed the faint scars on her arms, old wounds, symbols of battles long past. You've fought before, he said. She smiled faintly. All who live under the moons must fight. Hours passed. Sirana shared dried fruit and a thick, bitter drink that tasted like smoke and metal. Ryan told her of Earth, of oceans and rain, of stars seen from space. She listened quietly, her eyes softening with each word. To her, humans were myths, travelers who once touched their skies and vanished into the void. Suddenly the ground shook. From deep in the forest came a roar, low, endless and furious. Sirana's hand went to her spear, her expression hardening instantly. They have come, she whispered. Ryan stood, his heart pounding. Who? The shadow clans, she said. They smell the flame. They come to claim it. Ryan felt the air grow heavy, the trees around them swaying though no wind blew. Shapes moved between the glowing trunks, large, swift and many. The huntress's ancient enemies had come, drawn by the same fire that had saved him. Sirana turned to him, her voice sharp and calm. You will fight with us or you will burn with us, Ryan gripped his blaster, checking the last of his charge cells. I didn't come here to die, he said, his voice steady. Let's make them regret coming here. Serana's smile was brief but fierce. For a human, she said softly, you burn brighter than most. And as the jungle came alive with war cries and glowing eyes, the fire roared back to life, bathing them in orange light. 2 warriors, 1 human, 1 alien, ready to face the darkness together. The jungle trembled as the shadow clans closed in. Their growls echoed like thunder through the glowing trees. Ryan and Serana stood back to back, the dying fire between them, its light flickering across their faces. Above, the twin moons shone bright and cold. Watching the battle that was about to begin, Serana raised her spear and a faint hum filled the air. Dozens of huntresses stepped out of the shadows behind her, their weapons glowing with strange energy. Ryan checked his blaster, his last power cell humming weakly. He looked at Serana, and for the first time, she didn't look alien. She looked like a soldier. Just like him, then the forest exploded with motion. The shadow clans charged, massive creatures of smoke and bone. Their bodies twisting like liquid shadow, Ryan fired, bolts of light cutting through the darkness. Serana moved like lightning, her spear spinning, each strike precise and deadly. The air filled with the sound of energy crackling, roars and the sharp clash of alien steel. One of the creatures leapt toward Ryan. Claws wide, he rolled aside, blasting it mid-air, the shot tearing through its chest. It hit the ground with a hiss and melted into ash. Another came from behind, but Serana was there, her blade slicing through the creature before it could strike. Stay close, human, she shouted. The flame must not die. The fight raged on. For every enemy they cut down, 2 more appeared. Ryan's arm ached, his blaster overheated and his lungs burned with smoke. He looked toward the fire. It was fading, shrinking to a dim glow if it went out. They would lose everything. Serana saw it too. She pressed her hand to her chest, her eyes burning with determination. The fire lives through us, she said. And before Ryan could stop her, she thrust her spear into the flame, letting its energy surge through her body. Her armor glowed, symbols across her skin lighting up like stars. Ryan stared in shock. What are you doing? He shouted. Serana smiled weakly. Finishing the oath, she whispered. Then she leapt into the heart of the enemy horde, her entire form blazing with blue fire. Each strike sent waves of light rippling through the shadows, burning them to dust. Ryan could barely see her now, only flashes of fire and the echo of her battle cry. He felt something deep inside him spark without thinking. He grabbed a burning branch from the dying fire and ran forward. The flames didn't burn him. They followed him, wrapping around his arm. The huntresses saw it and shouted in their language. The human carries the flame. Together, they pushed back the darkness, every swing, every shot. Every step drove the shadows away, until at last silence fell. The forest glowed faintly, the ashes of the shadow clans drifting into the sky like sparks. Ryan stumbled to the center of the clearing. The fire had gone out, but warmth still filled the air. He found Serana kneeling beside the embers. Her body weakened but alive, her voice was soft. The flame chose well, she said. You are one of us now. Ryan smiled faintly. Guess I'm not just a visitor anymore, he said. Serana nodded. No, human, you are the keeper of the fire. Above them, the twin moons shone brighter than ever. The planet was silent again, but it was no longer empty. For where a man once sought rescue, he had found a purpose. And where a flame once called for help, it had instead lit the beginning of a legend. The legend of the human who burned with the huntresses, the guardian of fire. The man who turned a signal into a spark that would never die. The end.